Mia Brooks stood outside the riverside terrace, clutching her worn leather purse like a shield. The restaurant glowed with golden light, its glass walls revealing elegant diners who belonged to a world far removed from her cramped studio apartment. In Queens, she checked her phone again, rereading the message from her college roommate Lauren, who had set up this blind date with someone named Trevor. Her black dress was borrowed. Her heels pinched her feet, and her heart hammered against her ribs. After 3 years of working double shifts as a junior graphic designer by day and a barista by night, Mia rarely had time for dates. But Lauren had insisted this Trevor was different, kind, genuine, someone who could appreciate Mia beyond her financial struggles. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the heavy doors. The wrong table, the hostess barely glanced at her. Before gesturing vaguely toward the dining area, Mia navigated through the maze of tables, her eyes scanning for someone who matched Lauren's vague description of Trevor. Near the window, she spotted a man sitting alone, his posture straight, his dark suit perfectly tailored. He seemed to be waiting. Gathering her courage, Mia approached. "I'm so sorry I'm late," she said breathlessly, sliding into the chair across from him. The subway was packed, and I got completely turned around. The man looked up, and Mia's words died in her throat. He had striking features, sharp jawlines softened by warm gray eyes that held a depth she had not expected. For a moment, he seemed surprised, but then a slow smile curved his lips. "No apology necessary," he said, smoothly. "I just arrived myself." Something in his tone made Mia pause. He did not sound like someone who had been waiting nervously for a blind date. He sounded composed, confident, almost amused. But before she could question it, a waiter appeared with a bottle of wine. "Mr. Hartwell, your usual?" the waiter asked. Mia froze. Hartwell, the name echoed in her mind like a warning bell. She worked at Hartwell Digital Solutions, a mid-sized tech company known for its innovative design projects. But the CEO was a distant figure, someone she had only glimpsed in company-wide emails and business articles. She looked at him again, really looked, and recognition crashed over her like a wave. Julian Hartwell. Her boss, well, not directly, but the man who owned the company where she spent 60 hours a week creating graphics that rarely earned her more than a nod from her supervisor. Conversation beyond titles panic rose in her chest. She should excuse herself immediately, explain the mistake, and flee before she embarrassed herself further. But Julian was already speaking, his attention fully on her. "Tell me about yourself," he said, his voice genuinely curious. Mia hesitated. This was her chance to leave, but something held her in place. Maybe it was the way he looked at her, as if she was the only person in the room. Maybe it was the loneliness she sensed beneath his polished exterior. Or maybe, just maybe, she was tired of being invisible. "I'm a graphic designer," she began carefully. "Love creating things that tell stories. Right now, I'm working on a personal project, designing a series of posters about overlooked women in history." His eyes lit up with interest. "Fascinating. Why overlooked women?" "Because everyone deserves to be remembered," Mia said, her voice gaining strength. "We spend so much time celebrating the obvious heroes. But what about the people who worked in silence, who changed the world without ever getting credit?" Julian leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "That's a philosophy I can appreciate. In business, everyone focuses on the CEO, but it's the people behind the scenes who truly make things work." They talked for hours, the conversation flowing effortlessly. Mia told him about growing up in a small town in Ohio, about her father, who worked construction, and her mother, who cleaned houses to put Mia through community college. She shared her dreams of one day opening her own design studio, where she could work with nonprofits and causes she believed in. Julian listened intently, occasionally asking questions that showed he was truly engaged. He shared stories too, though more carefully. He spoke about the pressure of running a business, the loneliness that came with success, the way people treated him differently once they knew his name. "Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to just be a regular person," he admitted. "Have a conversation without wondering what someone wants from me." Mia's heart twisted. She understood that feeling, though from the opposite direction. She knew what it was like to be dismissed, to have people look through her as if she did not exist. The truth unspoken as dessert arrived. A chocolate torte they shared with 2 forks. Mia felt a pang of guilt. She should tell him who she was, that she worked at his company. But the words stuck in her throat. For one evening, she wanted to be just a Mia, not an employee, not someone trying to climb a ladder. Just a woman having dinner with a man who made her feel seen. Julian's phone buzzed, and he glanced at it with a frown. "I apologize. There's a situation at work that requires my attention." "It's fine," Mia said, though disappointment washed over her. He paid the bill despite her protests and walked her outside. The night air was cool, the city alive with distant sirens and car horns. "I'm glad you came tonight," Julian said, his voice softer now. "I was supposed to meet someone my sister set me up with, but she never showed. Then you arrived, and I thought perhaps fate had other plans." Mia's stomach dropped. He thought she was his blind date. She opened her mouth to correct him, but he continued. "Can I see you again?" The question hung between them, weighted with possibility. Mia knew she should say no, should explain everything right now, standing there under the glow of streetlights. Looking into his eyes, she found herself nodding. "Yes," she whispered. Julian smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face. He handed her his card, which she tucked into her purse like a secret. As she rode the subway home later that night, Mia replayed every moment of the evening. She had gone to meet a stranger named Trevor, and instead had dinner with Julian Hartwell, the CEO of her company. She had not meant to deceive him, but now the truth felt too complicated to unravel. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lauren asking how the date with Trevor went. Mia stared at the message, then typed a simple reply. Wrong. Table. Right person. She did not know what would happen next. She only knew that something had shifted inside her, something that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. For the first time in years, Mia felt like she mattered to someone. And though she knew this complicated situation could only lead to trouble, she could not bring herself to regret a single moment. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Mia stepped into the glass tower that housed Hartwell Digital Solutions. Her coffee in one hand and her worn portfolio bag in the other, the building suddenly felt different, charged with a new awareness. Somewhere in this building, 20 floors above her cramped cubicle, Julian Hartwell sat in his corner office, probably reviewing reports and making decisions that affected hundreds of lives. Her phone had buzzed 3 times over the weekend with messages. From him? Simple things, asking about her day, sharing a photo of a sunset from his apartment window, telling her about a book he thought she might enjoy. Each message made her heart race and her guilt deepen. She had not told him yet. Every time she tried to type the words, her fingers froze. How could she explain that she was not some independent artist he had met by chance, but an employee buried so deep in his company that he would never have noticed her otherwise? Face to face, Mia settled into her cubicle, pulling up the designs. For a new marketing campaign. The morning passed in a blur of revisions and emails from her supervisor, a sharp woman named Patricia, who rarely offered praise. Around 11, Patricia appeared at her desk, her expression strained. Conference room B in 10 minutes. Mr. Hartwell wants to review the campaign concepts personally. Mia's blood turned to ice. Mr. Hartwell himself? Apparently he's taking a more hands-on approach with creative projects this quarter, Patricia said, already walking away. Make sure your presentation is flawless. Mia's hands trembled as she gathered her laptop and notes. She had 10 minutes to figure out how to face the man she had shared dessert with just 3 nights ago. The man whose goodnight text still glowed. On her phone screen, the conference room was already filled when she arrived. 8 other designers and marketing staff sat around the long table, their portfolios spread before them. And at the head of the table, reviewing documents with focused intensity, sat Julian. He looked up as she entered, and their eyes met. For a split second, everything else vanished. She saw recognition flash across his face, followed by confusion. Then something that looked like understanding. His expression shifted so quickly that anyone else might have missed it. But Mia caught every nuance. She took the only empty seat directly across from him, her heart pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. The professional masked Julian cleared his throat. Let's begin. I want to see fresh perspectives on the Greenfield Tech campaign. Patricia tells me we have some innovative concepts to review. His voice was different now, crisp and professional. Nothing like the warm tone he had used at dinner. He did not look at Mia again as the presentations began. One by one, designers stood to share their work. Julian offered feedback, sometimes praising, often critiquing with a directness that made people squirm. Finally, Patricia nodded at Mia. Ms. Brooks has an interesting approach using vintage aesthetics with modern messaging. Mia stood on shaking legs and connected her laptop to the projector. As her designs filled the screen, she forced herself to speak clearly, explaining her vision of blending nostalgia with innovation. She had worked on these concepts for weeks, pouring her creativity into every detail. The room was silent when she finished. Julian studied the screen, his expression unreadable. The seconds stretched into an eternity. This is excellent work, he said finally, his eyes meeting hers. You have a gift for seeing what others overlook. These designs tell a story, which is exactly what we need. Relief and confusion warred inside her. His words were professional, but his gaze held something deeper, a question he could not ask in front of everyone. Thank you, Mr. Hartwell, she managed. The meeting concluded shortly after. As people filed out, Mia tried to slip away quickly, but Julian's voice stopped her. Ms. Brooks, a moment, please. Her colleagues glanced back curiously before the door closed, leaving them alone. The silence pressed down like a weight. Truth and consequences, Mia. Julian said quietly, and hearing her name in his voice made her chest ache. You work here. It was not a question. She nodded, unable to meet his eyes. Why didn't you tell me? His tone was not angry, just bewildered. I tried, she whispered. That first night I realized who you were, but then you started talking, and I thought I could explain later. Then your messages came, and every time I tried to say something, the words would not come. I knew how it would look. Julian moved around. The table, stopping a few feet from her. How would it look? Like I was using you, Mia said, her voice breaking. Like I sat at that table on purpose. Planned the whole thing to get close to the CEO. People would think I was trying to sleep my way to a promotion or special treatment. Is that what you think I would believe? He asked, hurt flashing in his eyes. I don't know what to think anymore, she admitted. Friday night felt real, but this, she gestured around the conference room. This is reality. You're Julian Hartwell, and I'm just someone who designs graphics in a cubicle you've probably never even walked past. He stepped closer. That night was real, Mia. The most real conversation I have had in years. Your job does not change that. It changes everything, she insisted. There are rules, protocols, power dynamics. If anyone finds out we had dinner together, my career here is over. They will say I'm manipulating you, and you will be accused of favoritism. Julian ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. Then we will be careful. Careful how? Mia challenged. You're the CEO. People watch your every move. I'm nobody, which means they will watch me even more closely once they notice you paying attention to me. The whispers begin over the following. Days Mia tried to maintain distance, but Julian made it nearly impossible. He started appearing on her floor, asking Patricia about various projects, always finding reasons to stop by Mia's desk. He requested her input on campaigns she had no business consulting on. He sent her emails marked urgent that contained nothing. But questions about her ideas, the other designers noticed. Whispers began in the break room, glances that lingered too long, conversations that stopped when Mia entered. Her friend and desk neighbor, a designer named Bethany, finally pulled her aside. What's going on with you and Hartwell? Her tone curious, but not unkind. Nothing, Mia said too quickly. He's just interested in some of my design concepts. Bethany raised an eyebrow. Mia, he has never personally reviewed junior designer work before. Now, suddenly, he is stopping by our floor twice a day. People are talking. Let them talk, Mia said, though fear coiled in her stomach. But the talking intensified. a rumor that Mia had connections to the Hartwell family. Another person suggested she had dirt on someone in upper management. The speculation grew increasingly cruel as people tried to explain why someone like her would suddenly be on the CEO's radar. Victoria's return things came to a head on a Thursday afternoon when a woman stepped off the elevator onto Mia's floor. She was stunning, with perfectly styled blonde hair, designer clothes, and an air of ownership that made heads turn. She walked straight to Patricia's office without announcing herself. Bethany leaned over. "That's Victoria Ashford. She and Hartwell. Dated for 3 years, her family owns Ashford Investments." Mia's heart sank as she watched Victoria through the glass walls, laughing with Patricia like old friends. After 20 minutes, Victoria emerged and her eyes swept the floor, landing on Mia with laser focus. She approached with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "You must be Mia Brooks," Victoria said smoothly. "Julian mentioned you're doing interesting work." "He did?" Mia asked, surprised and wary. "Oh yes, we had lunch yesterday. We still keep in touch, you know." "Old habits." Victoria's smile sharpened. "He always had a soft spot for charity cases, people who need a helping hand up. It's quite admirable, really." The words were perfectly polite, but the message was clear. Mia was a project, a temporary distraction. Someone who could never truly belong in Julian's world. Before Mia could respond, Victoria's phone rang. "Excuse me, darling. Enjoy your little moment in the spotlight." They never last long. She walked away, leaving Mia feeling small and foolish. The late night call that evening, as Mia sat in her apartment eating leftover takeout, her phone rang. Julian's name flashed on the screen. She almost did not answer, but curiosity won. "Hello?" "Please don't hang up," Julian said immediately. "I know Victoria came to your office today. I didn't send her, and whatever she said, it was not the truth. She said you had lunch together yesterday, a lunch I couldn't avoid. Her father is a major investor, and she used that as leverage to arrange a meeting." Making it clear we are finished, Mia closed her eyes. "Julian, this is exactly what I was afraid of. Your world is full of people like Victoria, people with power and connections and expectations. I don't fit into that picture, and I will change." "The picture," he said fiercely. "Mia, I haven't felt this alive in years. You see me, not the title or the money. When I am with you, I remember who I wanted to be before the world told me who I had to be. But at what cost?" she whispered. "I am already losing respect at work. People think I am using you, and you are facing criticism for paying attention. To a junior employee, how much worse will it get?" Julian was quiet for a long moment. "Meet me. Tonight. Let's talk face to face, not through phones or across conference tables." Mia wanted to say no, wanted to protect herself from the inevitable heartbreak. But she also wanted to see him, to have one more moment before reality tore them apart completely. "Where?" she asked softly. He gave her an address, and 2 hours later, Mia stood outside a small art gallery in Chelsea. Julian waited inside, casual in jeans and a sweater, looking more relaxed than she had ever seen him at the office. They walked through the quiet gallery, discussing the paintings, sharing observations. For a few precious hours, they were just two people who enjoyed each other's company. No titles, no complications. But as closing time approached, and they stood on the sidewalk saying goodbye, reality crept back in. Julian took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "I know this is complicated," he said. "No people will judge us. But I also know what I feel when I'm with you, and that is not something I am willing to give up without a fight." Looked up at him, torn between hope and fear. She knew loving him would be the hardest thing she had ever done. But walking away might be impossible. "One step at a time," she suggested. He smiled. "One step at a time." They did not kiss, though. The air between them hummed with possibility. They simply stood there, hands linked, while the city rushed past them. Neither knew that the hardest tests were still ahead, that their fragile connection would soon face challenges that would force them, both to decide what they were truly willing to sacrifice for love. 3 weeks had passed since that night at the gallery. Mia and Julian had managed to keep their growing relationship carefully hidden. meeting in quiet corners of the city where nobody from their world would recognize them. Coffee shops in Brooklyn, small bookstores in the village, late evening walks along the Hudson River, where the darkness gave them anonymity. But secrecy had its costs. At work, the tension was unbearable. Patricia had started scrutinizing every detail of Mia's projects, searching for mistakes that would justify the whispers about favoritism. Colleagues who once invited her to lunch now barely made eye contact. The isolation was crushing. Then came the invitation that changed everything. Julian called her on a Friday evening, his voice hesitant. The Hartwell Foundation is hosting its annual charity gala next Saturday. It's a major event, very public, lots of press coverage. Mia's stomach tightened. Okay, I want you to come with me. It's my date. The words hung in the air between them. This was different from their secret meetings. This was a declaration, a statement that would be photographed, analyzed, and judged by everyone who mattered in Julian's world. Julian, that's not a good idea, Mia said carefully. Your family will be their business associates, the media. I will be completely out of place. You belong anywhere I am, he said firmly. I'm tired of hiding, Mia. I'm tired of pretending that what we have is something to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed, she protested. I'm being realistic. People will tear me apart, and it will reflect badly on you. Let me worry about that, Julian insisted. Please, Mia, give us a chance to stop hiding. Against her better judgment, against every warning bell ringing in her head, Mia agreed. Preparing for battle the next week was a whirlwind. Bethany, who had warmed back up to Mia after a heartfelt conversation, helped her find a dress at a consignment shop. It was deep emerald green, elegant but not flashy, the kind of dress that would not scream that she did not belong even though she knew. She did not. Lauren came over the night before the gala, helping Mia with her hair and makeup. You look beautiful, Lauren said, stepping back to admire her work. But are you sure about this? Once those photos go public, there is no going back? I know, Mia whispered, staring at her reflection. The woman looking back seemed like a stranger, polished and prepared for a world she had only glimpsed from the outside. Saturday evening arrived too quickly. Julian sent a car for her, and as it glided through Manhattan toward the Plaza Hotel, Mia felt her courage wavering. She pressed her hand against her stomach. Trying to calm the nausea rising there, the car pulled up to a red carpet lined with photographers and reporters. Through the tinted windows, Mia could see the flash of cameras, the crowd of elegantly dressed guests making their grand entrances. Julian appeared at her door, breathtaking in a tailored black tuxedo. He extended his hand, his eyes warm with encouragement. Ready? No, she admitted. But I'm here anyway. His smile was gentle. That's all the bravery I need. The storm breaks the moment they stepped onto the red carpet together. The atmosphere shifted. Cameras flashed with frenzied intensity, and reporters began shouting questions. Mr. Hartwell, who is your date? Is this a new relationship? Her name. Julian kept his hand firmly on the small of Mia's back, guiding her forward with calm confidence. But Mia felt every eye dissecting her, measuring her worth, finding her lacking. Then someone recognized her. A reporter near the front shouted, Isn't she an employee at Hartwell Digital? Mia Brooks, what's your position at the company? The implication was immediate and ugly. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mia's face burned with humiliation as more questions came, each one sharper than the last. How long have you been seeing? Mr. Hartwell, did you meet at the office? Are there concerns about workplace ethics? Julian's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, pulling her gently toward the entrance. They had almost made it inside when Victoria appeared at the top of the stairs, resplendent in a silver gown that probably cost more than Mia's annual salary. Julian, darling, Victoria called out, her voice carrying perfectly for the cameras. I did not expect you to bring a guest. How delightfully surprising. She descended the stairs with practiced grace, stopping just in front of them. Her eyes raked over Mia with barely concealed contempt before she turned to the nearest reporter. It is so refreshing to see Julian supporting young talent from his company, Victoria said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. He has always been generous with mentorship opportunities. Though I do hope this does not create uncomfortable situations in the workplace. The reporters ate it up, cameras flashing wildly. Victoria had just publicly framed Mia as an opportunistic employee taking advantage of her boss. And there was nothing Mia could do to counter it without making things worse. Julian's hand tightened on her back. "That's enough, Victoria," he said. Coldly, but the damage was done. As they finally escaped inside, Mia felt tears burning behind her eyes. The evening had barely begun. She already wanted to disappear. Meeting the family, the ballroom was magnificent. All crystal chandeliers and gilded molding, filled with people who moved through wealth and power as easily as breathing. Dada introduced Mia to colleagues and business associates, each introduction feeling like a test she was failing. She could see the judgment in their eyes. The questions they were too polite to ask aloud. Then Julian's mother appeared. Julian Hartwell was tall and imposing. Silver hair swept into an elegant chignon and diamonds that caught the light. With every movement, she looked at Mia, the way one might examine an unexpected stain on expensive fabric. "Mother, this is Mia Brooks," Julian said, his voice tight. "How lovely," Catherine said, the words devoid of warmth. She turned to Julian, effectively dismissing Mia. "Darling, the Ashfords are asking for you. Victoria mentioned you two had a productive lunch last week. Her father is interested in discussing the expansion plans." "I'm with Mia tonight," Julian said firmly. Catherine's smile never wavered. "Of course. I'm sure Ms. Brooks won't mind if you attend to business for a few moments. After all, she must understand that in our world, certain obligations come first." It was a masterful dismissal, polite enough that Mia could not object without seeming unreasonable, but pointed enough that everyone nearby understood the message. Mia did not belong, and she was expected to know her place. "Go ahead," Mia said quietly to Julian. "It's fine." He looked torn, but Catherine was already guiding him away. Mia stood alone in the middle of the glittering ballroom, feeling more isolated than she had ever felt in her life. The breaking point, Mia escaped to the terrace, gulping the cool night air. Below, the city sparkled with a million lights, each one representing lives she would never touch, dreams she would never reach. Running away already? Mia turned to find Victoria leaning against the balustrade, a champagne flute in her hand. "Just getting some air," Mia replied, keeping her voice steady. Victoria laughed softly. "You actually believe this can work, don't you? You think love conquers all, that Julian will choose you over everything he has built, everyone who matters in his life." "What Julian and I have is none of your business," Mia said. "Oh, but it is," Victoria countered. "His family is my family's business partner. His reputation affects investments worth billions. And you, sweet girl, are a liability. A nice diversion, perhaps, but ultimately disposable." "You don't know anything about us," Mia said, her voice shaking. Victoria's expression shifted to something almost pitying. "I know that by Monday morning, those photos from tonight will be everywhere. I know that the board will have questions about his judgment. I know that his mother will make his life unbearable until he ends this. And I know that eventually, when the pressure becomes too much, he will realize what everyone else already knows. You are not worth the cost." The words struck like physical blows. Mia wanted to argue, to defend herself and Julian, but doubt crept. And like poison, what if Victoria was right? What if she was just a temporary disruption in Julian's carefully ordered life? "There you are." Julian emerged onto the terrace, his eyes immediately finding Mia. Relief crossed his face, followed by concern when he saw her expression. Victoria smiled. "I was just keeping your date company. I will leave you two alone." She brushed past Julian, pausing to whisper something Mia could not hear. Julian crossed to Mia, taking her hands in his. "What did she say to you?" "The truth, maybe," Mia said, her voice hollow. "Julian, everyone in that ballroom thinks I am using you. Your mother looked at me like I was something she scraped off her shoe. Victoria made sure every reporter knows I work for you. By tomorrow, this will be a scandal." "I don't care," Julian said fiercely. "But I do," Mia cried. "I care that people think I am some gold digger who seduced her boss. I care that this is hurting your reputation and your business. I care that your family hates me. I care that I am completely out of my depth here. Mia, no, listen, she interrupted, tears finally spilling over. I love you. I have loved you since that first night when you listened to me talk about my dreams like they mattered, but loving you is destroying me. Every day at work is torture. Tonight has been humiliating, and it is only going to get worse. Julian pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her tightly. Then quit. Leave the company. We'll figure out something else and prove everyone right. Mia pulled back. But I was only there to get close to you. Not that I'm willing to throw away my career for a relationship that makes it worse, not better. What do you want me to do? Julian asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Tell me how to fix this. I don't think you can, Mia whispered. The aftermath Monday morning. Mia arrived at work to find a formal letter on her desk. Patricia had submitted a complaint about conflict of interest, and Human Resources was conducting an investigation. Until it was resolved, Mia was suspended with pay. The news articles were everywhere. CEO's office romance raises ethics questions. Hartwell executive accused of favoritism. The photos from the gala showed Mia looking overwhelmed and out of place. While Julian appeared protective but troubled, social media was vicious. People she had never met dissected her appearance, her background, her worth. Someone found her old social media posts and shared them mockingly. A forum dedicated to business ethics debated whether Julian should resign. Mia stopped answering her phone. She ignored Julian's calls and texts. Unable to bear the weight of his concern when she felt like she was drowning, a week later there was a knock on her apartment door. She opened it to find not Julian, but an older man in an expensive suit. Ms. Brooks, my name is Richard Chen. I'm the chairman of the Hartwell Digital Board. May I come in? Mia stepped aside. Richard sat in her worn armchair, looking around her modest apartment with an appraising eye. I will be direct, he said. Your relationship with Julian Hartwell has created significant complications. The board is concerned about liability, about the appearance of impropriety. We are prepared to offer you a generous severance package in exchange for your resignation and a signed agreement that you will not pursue any legal action or speak publicly about your relationship with Mr. Hartwell. Mia stared at him. You want to pay me to go away? You want to resolve this situation cleanly, Richard corrected. The amount we are offering would allow you to pursue your dreams of opening your own studio without financial worry. You would never have to work for anyone else again. It was a golden cage, beautiful and suffocating. They were offering her everything she had always wanted, but only if she gave up Julian. What does Julian know about this? Mia asked. Mr. Hartwell is not aware of this conversation, Richard admitted. The board felt it was better to approach you directly. Get out, Mia said quietly. Richard raised an eyebrow, his Brooks eyes strongly. Encourage you to consider, get out of my home, Mia repeated, her voice stronger now. I am not some problem you can throw money at, and I am not leaving Julian because your board is uncomfortable. Richard stood, his expression hardening. You are making a mistake. This will not end well for either of you. After he left, Mia sat in the silence of her apartment, her heart pounding. For the first time since the gala, clarity cut through the chaos. She loved Julian, truly loved him. But love was not the only thing that mattered. She needed to know she could stand on her own, that her worth was not defined by her relationship with him. She picked up her phone and finally called him back. Finding strength, Julian arrived within 20 minutes, bursting through her door with desperate relief. Mia, thank God. I have been going insane. Why would you not answer? Because I needed to think, she said calmly. Sit down, Julian. We need to talk. He sat, fear evident in his eyes. I love you, Mia began. But I cannot be with you right now. Not like this. I need to build something for myself, something that has nothing to do with you or your company or your world. I need to prove to myself and everyone else that I am more than just your girlfriend. Mia, you don't have to prove anything, Julian protested. Double quotes. Yes, I do, she insisted. Your board just offered me money to disappear. Your mother thinks I am a gold digger. Half the internet believes I slept my way into your life. I need to show them all who I really am, but I cannot do that while hiding in your shadow. Julian's face crumpled. Are you ending this? I am asking for time, Mia said, tears streaming down her face. I'm asking you to let me find my own path. If what we have is real, it will survive this. If it is not, then we both need to know that now. How much time? He whispered. I don't know, she admitted, but I am going to start my own design studio. I am going to work with nonprofits and causes I believe in. I am going to build something I can be proud of, something that is mine. And you need to figure out if you can handle being with someone the world does not think is good enough for you. Julian reached for her hands. You're more than good enough, Mia. You are everything. Then trust me enough to let me do this. She said, please. It was the hardest conversation of her life, but as Julian finally nodded his agreement, Mia felt something shift inside her. Fear remained, but beneath it was a foundation of strength she had not known she possessed. 6 months. Later, Mia stood in the small studio space she had rented in Brooklyn, surrounded by half-finished designs and fabric samples. Her business, Brooks Creative, was slowly gaining traction. She had landed 3 nonprofit clients, and her work had been featured in a small design magazine. It was not glamorous, but it was hers. Her phone buzzed with a message from Bethany, who had left Hartwell Digital to join a startup. Have you seen the news? Mia opened the link Bethany sent. The headline read, Julian Hartwell steps down as CEO, appoints new leadership. Her heart stopped. She quickly read the article. Julian had resigned from his position as CEO, staying on only as a board member. In his statement, he said he wanted to pursue work that aligned with his values rather than his family's expectations. He was starting a foundation focused on supporting small businesses and creative entrepreneurs that evening. There was a knock on her studio door. Mia opened it to find Julian standing there, casual in jeans and a sweater, looking more at peace than she had ever seen him. Hi, he said simply. Hi, she whispered back. You quit. I resigned, he corrected with a small smile. There is a difference. I am still involved, just not running the show anymore. Turns out I am much happier supporting other people's dreams than building empires. Julian, you didn't have to do that for me, Mia said. I didn't do it for you, he replied. I did it for me. You were right, Mia. I needed to figure out who I was, outside of my family's expectations. These past 6 months have been hard, but they have also been clarifying. I know what matters now. What matters? She asked softly. He stepped closer. Being with someone who sees me for who I really am, building something meaningful instead of just profitable. Living a life I can be proud of. And if you will have me, loving you without apology or hiding. Mia felt tears slide down her cheeks. Your family will adjust, or they won't, Julian said. My mother is not happy, Victoria has finally moved on, and the society pages have found new scandals to obsess over. The world kept turning, Mia. And I realized that the only opinion that matters is my own. And mine? Mia asked with a small smile. Especially yours, he agreed, reaching for her hands. So, Ms. Brooks, owner of a thriving design studio, independent woman who does not need anyone's approval, would you consider letting me take you to dinner? Somewhere quiet where we can talk about everything and nothing? No expectations? No pressure? Just 2 people who care about each other, seeing where this goes. Mia looked at him. This man who had walked away from everything to find himself, who had given her the space she needed to grow, who stood before her now, offering not a fairy tale, but something real. Yes, she said. I would like that very much. Smiled, that genuine smile that had captivated her from the very first night. Should I pick you up at 7? Make it 7:30, Mia said. I have a design to finish first. Julian laughed, and the sound filled her small studio with warmth. As he left, promising to return later, Mia turned back to her work. She had found her own path, built her own dream, and proved her own worth. And now, finally, she was ready to let love in without losing herself in the process. Outside, the Brooklyn streets hummed with life. Somewhere in the city, Julian was probably already planning the perfect evening. And in her studio, surrounded by the work of her own hands, Mia smiled. They had both learned that love required more than just feeling. It required courage, sacrifice, and the strength to stand alone before you could truly stand together. The road ahead would not be easy, but they would walk it as equals. To people who had fought for themselves before they fought for each other. And that, Mia thought as she returned to her sketches, was the kind of love worth having,